Yeah. So you get to see me build frames again. This time with the staple gun because, I don't know, I'm bored. But first I paint glue on 2 sets of these sides. When I first did this, I was very careful about keeping everything square, and then I found something out. The bees don't seem to care how square these are. And so I worked really hard and didn't really accomplish that much. And it went slow, of course. I had a block of plywood that I specially cut to be square and everything, and it went inside of frames and, you know, as you do. And you see I just blew that side up. It's not a big deal. The glue will hold. The bees will push this up the crack. If I get really antsy about it, I can drive a staple in. And that's that. There we go. One frame done up. Nothing to it. I'll do another one just for grits and shiggles. And because I have coffee. I also used to go through a lot of effort to wipe the glue up, but the bees don't seem to care about the glue either. So I guess not really worried about that. Of course, Titebond is declared food safe for indirect food contact, and considering that there's beeswax and propolis between each cell and everything that has honey on it, that's about as indirect as it'll get. I'll go over every one of them with a chisel to just make sure there's no big globs or anything, but other than that, I don't really care. I do like to put these together with nails because it's kind of relaxing. It's not too loud. It's not as loud as this anyways. I don't have to listen to the compressor crank up every now and then, which with that big compressor, I don't have to listen to it that much anyways. My beekeeping mentor actually caught a swarm last night. He said he's never caught a swarm in a swarm trap. Put them out every year, blah, blah, blah. And he's never caught one in a swarm trap. And I thought that was funny. Well, we walked out to check his swarm trap last night, and sure enough, he had a swarm in it. So we put out another one at my place, and hopefully get more bees. I wouldn't mind selling them or getting somebody else started in this or something like that. That would be pretty nice. And I've noticed that every time I take pictures of myself, I'm at an unflattering angle and I look fat. I promise I am. It's not a trick of the camera. And my mother or my mother or one of my older friends will watch this, and the first thing that they'll say whenever they see a picture of me is, "Have you gained weight?" Now, that's a great thing. That just makes you feel good about yourself. But the first thing somebody notices about you is that you've gained weight. Well, fun fact. I actually haven't. I've lost weight. And then I gained more weight, but it sure wasn't fat. Because not with all the sanding and jogging and stuff I've been doing. So, I actually have a gym membership. I just don't go because by the time I get home from work, I want to go out to my shop. And during the day, I'm watching my kiddos, which is rewarding and fun, so I'm not complaining about that one. No, I got enough, but I didn't have enough of these. It's it's kind of rewarding being the stay-at-home dad. I should have rototilled my garden under, so I could start a garden already. Should have done that, I don't know, a month ago, but I didn't do it. So I'm gonna have to figure something out or plant a smaller garden. I've got flowers growing behind the shop, which, by the way, every time you go to Tractor Supply and these other companies and you buy these pre-made flower mixes, you have to be careful, because the companies that put those together and say, oh, the birds and the butterflies, don't really do a whole lot of research. And you can end up with flowers that are toxic, or that bees and butterflies actually don't visit, because that person, whoever made the mix, and I'm not trashing Tractor Supply or any other company, I'm just saying, just putting it out there to do your own research, because whoever they hire to do the research doesn't do it, they half-ass it, and you just end up with some pretty flowers, which, if that's what you're looking for, hey, go you. You found them. But if you're looking for something that's actually for birds and butterflies and whatever, bees, of course, you have to be careful. Make sure you're getting what you're actually after and not being screwed over by some corporate jackass who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. Which, you're probably getting screwed over by a corporate jackass who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. So, have fun with that anyway. But, for those of you wondering, why is he making this video? Well, it's almost 10 o'clock. Actually, it's probably like 11. I don't actually know what time it is. With my luck, it's about 11 or 12 o'clock, and I just lost track of time. And I'm not here alone, as is often the case. And, you know, kind of want somebody to talk to. But there ain't nobody around. So, talking to myself feels rather awkward. Not to mention, I suppose it's a sign of craziness, which sucks because I do it all the time. But, yeah, a little lonely out here, and that sort of sucks. But I can't force people to be out here with me, and my wife does have to sleep. So do my kids. So, just me. And making a video that might help me in the long run. I can look at it and see, oh shit, man, I should have been doing that. Or listen to it and say, damn, I sound like a jackass here. I should have just talk about certain things. Actually helps me in the long run. And so making a video just happens to make more sense. I'd rather make a video anyway, because even though it might not help you, or you might just click and scroll the hell on, you know, it helps me. So let me take you down and I'll show you some of the improvements I made in the shop, if I can. There we go. All right, so let me walk back here, and of course you know the shop's a mess, but I've been organizing some. I had a friend give me some, or a lay-in light, and it's nice and bright, but it needs to go up there, and it ain't there yet. And then I got hold of some cabinets, which are a big boon. On one side I've put some bee supplies, and the bottom bee supplies and stuff, wax in there, which I'll lay the wax in tonight. And I've been building frames up here. But I've also got my toxins and glues up there. My other wax is right there. My clamp, my pan of ice. This is actually what holds the phone 99% of the time. Propane, grommets, assorted lubricants, car stuff, chainsaw stuff, small engine repair stuff. And those are randomly there, so just ignore them. They're not there right now. Some more small engine repair. So, yeah, and coffee. Coffee is important. Let's see. That's really been about it. I put these in, and it's been nice to have a work surface. This is where my panel that was glued and bolted to the wall, that's that gray panel there with the outlines on it, that had my car stuff in it, which is currently in this drawer with my backup baby wipes and normally backup diapers. I'll talk to these two since, shit, I can. It's only been 10 minutes. So, anyways, that was there originally, but it gave me a nice convenient place to anchor those studs up. And the studs are glued. They do have glue on them. At least those two do. And screwed in place. They're not likely to move anymore. Strictly because they go down behind the cabinet. Which, as you can see, I've got a piece of wood in there. And the wood is 3 inches on this side and 4 1/4 on that side. Or no, 4 and 14 or 13/16 on that side. And which just goes to show how good the person that built this place was. They were so good that they got it that square in that small of an area. In case you cannot tell, that is sarcasm. All right, so let's talk about these little parts I got on front of me for grits and shittles again. So T-handles. These are pull-start handles, and these little guys here are fuel filters for small engines. And why do I have so many? Well, that's the biggest thing I end up repairing in my shop. It's not what I want to do. I don't really want to repair things for everybody, but it gets me a little bit of extra money here and there. Not a whole lot, because I usually don't charge much for it. Usually just parts, and you know, rely on the generosity of people to provide for labor. But I keep these on hand because for $5 I can get for $3.50 I get 5 of these. Or I can go to the Tractor Supply and pay $4 for one. Also, for about $5 I can get some of these as well. And these are really nice, heavy duty, and they're actually got some weight to them. You know, you go to the Tractor Supply store and they've got these little tiny filters that are really light. And in a 2-cycle engine, you want something that's got some weight on it. If you'd focus, I'd be happy. There we go. The reason that you want that is because the benefit of a 2-cycle engine is that it can be used at any angle. And if your fuel filter doesn't drag your fuel hose into the position that you're working in, then it really doesn't do you a whole lot of good. So I buy these ones, made by this company. And I gotta say, I've been impressed with them so far. They seem like they do a really good job. They've got some sort of felt in there. So they do a pretty good job filtering crud out of your fuel. And they've got some weight to them, and that's really nice. Another trick I've done in the past is I've taken a bit of lead and wrapped it around the hose and crimped it in place. And that also provides some weight. But you really don't want to put lead in your fuel tank, or you really don't want to handle lead. But it does work. So if you've got to, you can. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Oh, I had somebody ask me a question about my smoker. Did I make my bellows? Why, yes. Yes, I did. The bellows that was on here had a pathetic spring, and so when you lifted it up by this, it would compress and fall out of your hands. Which, considering you use your bellows 90% of the time one-handed, that didn't make any sense. So I took some upholstery springs and cut them and put them inside of here. So they're screwed in place, so they're not going to move. And then I made the bellows, and the intake is up here behind the heat shield, and the blowing part is right there. So when you squeeze that, it blows. Now, you may or may not be able to see it, but you see there's threads in there, like it's a bolt. It's actually a 1/4 inch all-thread coupling pressed into a hole, and that protects it, because I noticed on the original one that this area got smoked up pretty bad, and considering it was a very thin piece of wood, this is not thin, this is a little over a half an inch thick, it probably wouldn't have lasted that long. There are hinges in mine, as opposed to the original. There were no hinges, it was just a flap that held it in place. Mine actually has a piano hinge in there, and rivets and leather. And I have left this out in the rain and had no problems with it. The edges are all sealed. There's rubber cement that is glued it's glued here, so it can't move. Let me make sure I'm zoomed out. Okay. I did brand it with my name. And I added a piece of aluminum here as a bit of a heat shield, because your hand does get pretty hot and it's just got a little tiny gap between it there, about 1/8 of an inch or so, and it just bent the edges until it bulged out further, and that makes my smoker do its thing. And it's got creosote on it because I put an old lamp on top to kind of smother it out. So 15 minutes, I think that'll be enough for a video. And I was going to show you the lamp before I cut it off. Here's the lamp head. It is a lamp. It doesn't have its ceramic bit in there anymore. It's just the metal shroud. And I just put it over top of there so that it smothers out a little cooler, and so you can see that creosote is all in there, and as it gets hot and melts down, it gets all over my smoker, which you can clean up with a wire brush. It's not a big deal. I do like this stainless steel smoker. Alright, that's it. I enjoyed talking at you, whether you did or not. Good night.